Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm here to break a little bit of the grimness that we've had the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe a little positivity.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. I think people need to strap in, Jake. Do you know why?
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
It is going to be a bumpy ride. And
Yeah.
I take umbrage a little bit with what you said there.
Why?
Suggestion that some of them aren't good ones. I don't know if that's the kind of
I
message
think
we want to put out. I don't want to run like a dictatorship thing here.
I think in general, though, our general arrogance throughout the podcast gives off the impression that, in our opinion, there aren't any bad ones. It's just nice to sound a little bit humble.
There are some
sometimes.
that could do with improvement.
Yeah. We're not perfect, but, we do our best.
And that's what makes us perfect.
Yeah.
It's
the
a
fact we're not
crazy
perfect.
world. It's
Yeah.
so messed up, that our imperfections make us perfect.
Yeah.
And I just don't want people to, it's a weird one because we want people to think like we're relatable.
Yeah.
And we're like one of them, but we are better than people. And it's a very hard one to balance.
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think you definitely think you're better than people.
Well,
I like to think of myself, I feel like in this room, politically, I mean, in that situation with the level of arrogance, you have to be a Tory.
I don't mean politically, I just mean like physically.
You just
We are just better than everyone.
Okay. I mean, if being tall's good, then maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. See, no matter what physical definitions we put down, one of us is going to get ruled out because we are polar opposites.
Yeah,
physically.
I'm big and fat, and you're slight and small.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Even down to
Look,
like
you're
that
looking good.
I'm now clean shaven.
and I've
and
got
you
a
are with
bushy
beard.
Yeah, I mean, I say bushy is decent.
It's tough. It's a nice beard.
Thank
It's
you.
well trimmed.
Thank you.
You're looking svelte.
I don't feel it.
Oh, you look it. You look svelte.
Thank you. I
It's
appreciate it.
like a spirit, svelteness.
Yeah. So I think today, guys, what we haven't communicated well so far is what this episode is going to be about. And in truth, neither of us fully know what it's going to be about. There's a few things we both know we want to talk about, but we've done a similar episode before. We've just picked a few things we want to talk to each other about and see
what
how
happens.
it goes. Yeah. So, Jake, would you like to kick us off?
Well, sure. I think there's only one really place we can kick off, given what we're, at time of recording. This week has seen the hottest temperatures in the UK on record.
Yeah.
The highest temperature was recorded on Tuesday, clocked in at 40.3 degrees Celsius in Coningsby, Lincolnshire. Previous record was 38.7 in Cambridgeshire in 2019, so it's a bit of a jump.
Yeah.
And also the highest, this is going to be a weird way to phrase this, but the highest low temperature. So, it didn't drop below.
When it was at its lowest on the day.
Previously, the highest low was in Brighton in 1990, which is quite a way back, and that temperature was 23.9 degrees. Now in Kenley in Surrey, it didn't go below 25.8 degrees, which is insane, and we can explain why I struggled to sleep. Also, Chatter Hall on the Scottish borders recorded 34.8 degrees, overtaking the previous Scottish record set at 32.9 degrees, which is in Greycook, which is also on the borders in 2003.
Which is mad, isn't it? If it's
hot.
affecting Scotland.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? If Scotland's in the 30s, shit's gone wrong.
Yeah, something's going bad. And I mean, I don't know about you, I don't know how it affected you, but it was just fucking awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one for me because I'm going through a bit of something at the moment, and I'm not sure whether it's like the heat or an effect of recently having COVID. Or a combination of the two, and I'm kind of not sure. But I have been absolutely fatigued.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that definitely a big part of that will be the heat. That
No
definitely
doubt.
help.
The heat doesn't help for sure.
Speaking as a large man with a lot of layers, it was challenging, honestly.
Do you mean emotional layers or just physical layers?
Both.
The more complex a man you are, the hotter it gets.
Yeah, and the hotter I am, the more distant I am, treating me and
the
keeping me.
metaphors that are flying around this room.
Yeah. I mean, I'm overflowing with them, honestly.
So I can see.
Yeah. But no, honestly, it was awful.
Not comfortable, was it?
No, and to be honest with you, it felt quite frightening, to be honest, and made me feel quite anxious for the future.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that made me laugh was I was listening to the radio on my way into work on Wednesday, it must have been.
Yeah.
And they breaking news, we're going to take you to the travel room because there's protesters on the M25. I'm pretty sure it was the M25.
Yeah.
And I just sort of laughed to myself out loud, which is probably a bit odd to the people watching me walk. Just chuckled to myself, but I thought, well, yeah, like the capital was literally on fire yesterday. Of course, there's protesters out today. I mean, there were a number of wildfires.
It's mental,
even around London. Like in Croydon, there was one. The biggest one was probably in, is it Wenning or something like that? Basically, sort of East London.
Yeah,
like it's scary.
It is really scary.
People lost their houses. People lost their houses and their livelihoods simply for the fact that it's been so hot that the grass has completely dried up and made it susceptible to it, and then the heat just catching a little bit of broken glass or a little bit of a little bit of a reflective surface, and that's all it took. Yeah,
and it's very frightening. I don't know what it means for us going forward, because I think we spoke about this before, not on the pod but off air, about how like when we were kids, hot weather, like a summer weather to us is like at the most high 20s. That was sort of the peak of it.
Yeah, really, most of our summers would be like low to mid 20s.
Yeah, but I would say progressively, it feels like the last 10 years, the temperature is just year on year, it feels like it's getting worse. And then
now it's not uncommon to hit 30, whereas when we were kids, that would never happen.
Yeah,
and it's the same at the other end of the extreme. When we were kids, snow was just like it never snowed.
Yeah.
And now it snows every year. Do you know what I mean? Every January, February, usually
you
twice
a
year.
Snow.
And it's like, that just never happened when we were kids. It's like fucking hardly ever snowed.
No. And to be honest with you, like, obviously it must be to do with climate change. I can't see how it couldn't be. But I don't know what we do. And I don't know if there is anything we can do.
Well, I think it's that sad thing of it's the big corporations and certain industrial countries that need to do a lot more on their part, as well as obviously on the other side of things, on the sort of kind of preservation side of it, countries like Brazil need to do an awful lot more on deforestation.
I think
Borneo is quite bad for it.
The problem is, the way I look at it is, it's because it's such a global issue, it would require a joint global effort,
a united global effort.
And not just a thing of like introducing some policies here and there and things. It means it would require fundamental change in how we currently live our lives, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, certainly there's got to be a bigger push in terms of what we can do in this country. There's got to be a bigger push for more sustainable energy, which would also help with the energy bills, which are going a bit out of control.
And the thing is, we have the capability to do it. We have lots of space for wind farms and things like that. There's all sorts of other options, but we just don't entertain it. Or at least it doesn't feel like we do. But the thing is, even if... And like the problem is, like at the moment, was it 2050? The net zero target, isn't that it?
It's too late, isn't it? A lot of scientists are coming out and saying...
But that's the current target that we have not currently set any plan to. There's nothing been put in the works. There are no steps currently being taken at all.
3 of the candidates, and I can't be fair, I don't know whether the remaining 2 candidates were the ones that said it, but I know Kemi Badenoch said it. But at least 3 of the candidates said that they thought we need to
scale back or be more realistic, didn't they?
And push that a bit further back.
And like, look, I understand what they're saying, because as I just said, it's going to require huge shifts in how we currently live our lives. So you have to be realistic about how that's going to be done. But I think we've also got to start being really honest about what that actually means.
And also, you know, there's just one thing that I want to address, because it came up a lot during the heat and the heat wave, is that we're all going, it's unbearable, and people going, and there's a lot of argument going, oh, it's just a bit, you know, what, the sun's out and now we can't cope. And you think, no, but, you know, when we're comfortable with it is when we're on holiday, and people go, yeah, you go on holiday, and it's like, oh, yeah, because
you're choosing to do that.
First of all, let's look at something major and fundamental. The buildings in like the Mediterranean, for example, are architecturally designed
to be cooler,
to cool down. Our buildings are designed for cold winters, and they're designed to retain heat. And so as the heat wave goes on, your house is retaining more heat, so it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Also, the infrastructure, you know, our trains, for example, and the train tracks are not made to withstand that heat, because previously we would never have expected it.
No.
Whereas in countries like Spain and in Greece and whatever, they have to invest in that infrastructure, because
they have
otherwise
no other choice.
Yeah, exactly. And also there's a huge difference between me experiencing 35-degree heat sitting around a pool and a nice luxury air-conned hotel, and me going to a work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And toiling away for a day, and I I didn't like that argument.
But I also didn't like the narrative that seemed to be taking place. That instead of talking about why is this happening, we were talking about why haven't we got things in place to cope with it. It's like, my problem isn't that we're not prepared for the hot weather. That should be obvious. We don't get this weather, so we're not going to be prepared for it. And there's been no precedent set that we would require it. But all the conversation was, well, what are we going to put in place for when this happens in future? Not what can we do to stop it happening in future. Yeah. And that was my issue with it, because it just, that's all the conversation.
It's sort of, not to bring the B word into it, but it's sort of the Brexiteers argument of like, look, it's shit now, we just got to make do.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, hang on a minute, can we not just address maybe and make it a little less shit?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it is what it is, and it is shit, so let's just all get on with it. And it's like, no, I don't want to get on with it.
Yeah, and we're not actually addressing the root issue. And I think because...
No, it's that thing, where it's that age-old medical thing. You've got to attack the cause, not the symptoms. If you just treat symptoms, it's only going to come back again and again or get worse.
What do you think that is, though? Why aren't we doing that?
I think it's partly a fear, but I do think, not to sound too conspiratorial, but I do think it's largely down to the media. I do think the big media owners in this country benefit financially from
keeping things as they are,
sort of like fossil fuel companies and oil companies and all these things that are doing major damage to the economy, to the planet, and the deforestation and stuff. And I think because they benefit from it,
and it's so dangerous because
convince people that it's not a thing, it's nothing to worry about.
Relying on things as they are now. So to say to an average working person, well, you shouldn't be driving your car every day, but they rely on it to earn a living.
Yeah.
You can't make that argument to someone morally.
No,
yes, we should all stop driving and using cars, but that's not realistic.
A lot of the policies are tailored towards the middle classes who can work from home, who can, afford to buy the fancier products that are maybe more sustainably farmed.
What's concerning me is the people that are living this middle class lifestyle seem to be dominating them and the upper classes, and somehow seem to be convincing the working class that they're right. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I mean.
If you're out on the street, you're not going to hear two blokes down the pub talking about what do we do about the environment, mate. It's getting fucking hot, isn't it? You're just not going to hear that. So it's quite pessimistic, and there's someone I know who's normally very opinionated on everything, and his partner tried to talk to him about what's going on with the heat and the environment, and he's had a kid recently, and he was just like, it frightens me so much knowing what we're leaving.
I think
I can't engage with
real worry about our unwillingness, and I mean the, like I said, the
wider
big wig,
society,
the big wig, the 1%, by their inability to put the planet over profit, is that what happened was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even as recent as 10 years ago, we were having these conversations and we were saying, what about the future for our great-grandchildren? Like, now it's our grandchildren, and now it's our children, now it's our grandchildren. Like, it's getting closer.
Well, like, look, to be honest with you, this is an unpopular opinion, but Maggie Thatcher was actually big on green. I couldn't tell you exact, but I remember listening to something recently where they lined out all these things she'd done to start scaling back our carbon footprint and promote more sustainable energy, because she saw that, even back then.
Oh no, the conversation's been going on for a long time.
It's just mental.
Conversation's been going on for a long time, and we've done nothing for it.
Well, no, because the problem is, if you put at the centre of every major, powerful society on the planet that profit above everything else and growth is what's required, but like, we don't care what else is going on. But you're seeing it now with the cost of living crisis, because I refuse to believe that supermarkets' costs have gone up to the degree that things have gone up in price as much as they have. And that's because when prices of stuff go up, and we've talked about this before, the burden of that doesn't ever fall on companies anymore. It used to. Companies would try and take on the burden of cost.
Some of the RMT senior members have been doing the media rounds the last couple of months, speak quite eloquently and
I think they're brilliant. They do such a good service
brilliantly. And one of them was, one of their main points that they've been driving home is that, look, companies are still making profits. If companies are still making profits, then
we're
there's
not asking them to lose money. We're just
then,
asking them to pay people fairly.
Yeah, it's like if companies are still making, if companies are making smaller and smaller profits, then there's an argument to be made that things are going up and what. But if companies are still making these huge profits,
and paying
then
themselves
what it
huge
means
bonuses.
is that something's gone wrong further down the line. Someone's missing out. That's
Yeah.
at the expense of someone, and it's at the workers. It's at you and me at the tills.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, because the answer is always, well, we cut costs, but not our costs.
No,
Everyone else's.
your costs.
But yeah, so the price burden goes on to us every time, and it's not stopping at the moment. Like every time you look at the price of something, it's constantly increasing.
They expect inflation to hit 11% this year.
And
in this
I'm
country.
sorry, I just refuse to believe that companies can't afford to take more of that on, and I think they have a moral responsibility to. Like, I'm not asking them to make a loss. I'm just asking them to make it a little bit less. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen though. What we would require is a government that would be willing to hold business to account like that, and when we don't have that, and we won't have that anytime soon.
No, definitely not.
And I'm not even convinced if we had a Labour government that would be something they'd be interested in doing. So, it's pretty bleak, to be honest.
It is pretty bleak. Shall I quickly jump off that to quickly talk about?
Please do.
Something that I've got written down. So I don't know if you saw yesterday or this week. Kwasi Kwarteng, the business secretary, signed an act that decriminalised companies hiring agency workers while people went on strike.
I did see that.
I mean, how disgusting is that?
Yeah.
We workers, like you said, we're struggling. We're struggling to keep our heads above water. It's getting harder and harder. And what they've done is they've made it even harder. We had very little power, and they're taking that away.
Yeah.
And I think it's just sickening.
Because I think what the government have seen is that overall public sentiment is for workers' rights and for unionisation, because they see what power it can give staff. And the thing is, it's not like these people are being unreasonable.
No.
No. But no, the fact the government... the thing is, it's just indicative of what the Tories do. They have gone against protesting. They're now going against unionisation and protesting your work.
And it I'm not saying this is because of it, but they're very out of touch as well, because a number of Labour MPs, interestingly, have come out and talked about the leadership race.
Yeah.
And they said that they feared Tom Tugendhat. They were worried going into the next general election, if Tom Tugendhat was in charge, they'd have a fight on their hands to try and get gains and try and win back some seats.
Yeah.
He was also part of the reason why they feared him, was that he was the only one who got a round of applause during the TV debates.
Okay.
Because he called Boris Johnson a liar. They asked, is Boris Johnson a liar?
Okay.
He was the only one who said yes, and he got huge cheers,
Okay.
and his polls went straight up, and he was immediately voted out of the race by the Tory MPs.
Because they were too afraid of him.
Well, not because I mean, he's the one you want leading you.
Mm.
It's like, all you've got to do is
No,
look
but
up
the
and
thing
go...
is, he's not, is he?
No, but you're looking up and you go, okay, the voting public, let's be honest, those audiences are made up quite heavily of Tory members or Tory voters. Who do they like? Who's going to win us the seat? Who's going to get people to vote for him? That guy, because all the popular polls are saying that guy, and it's
but can I be honest with you? Why I think
get rid of him?
You're wrong, because that's not how they think. I think what they have seen through Boris is that for the most part, if you do it right, you can convince our general public of almost anything you want to.
I know, but the general public, if you go and speak to the general public, as you and I both live in a conservative constituency, the disdain towards Boris Johnson's government, nearly, and it's almost entirely over the Partygate thing. There's very little else that people worry about.
People aren't actually bothered about the Chris Pincher thing.
Or Chris Pincher, by the way, who still has the whip.
Does it? Has he not actually been removed?
No, he's still... it's under investigation, and he's been asked not to come to Parliament.
Well, it's innocent until proven guilty, isn't it?
But he's still got the whip, whereas Tobias Ellwood this week had the whip removed for not voting in the when they brought the confidence vote. He had the whip removed for not voting in that confidence vote, and by the way, the confidence vote that the Speaker had to remind the Prime Minister that they introduced when the Prime Minister got up and said, why are we wasting our time on this confidence vote, and we should be talking about everything else, and the Speaker was like, well, I mean, you introduced it, so just please be careful. And reports suggest that Tobias Ellwood was actually in the region of Odessa at the time, dealing with some of the Ukrainian conflicts. But Boris didn't know that. He was you didn't turn up to vote in my favour. So I'm sorry, my son, you're no longer one of us.
Jesus,
seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think that ultimately what it comes down to with the Conservatives is they're proving over and over again that they don't actually give a shit about the general public. it's about looking after their type of people and what they believe in.
Yep.
And stuff like that, and the sort of people, like, for example, I mean, it might as well lead into it now because it was one of the last political things I wanted to talk about, and that was the choice between Rishi and Liz. And I'm glad I'm not one of the people voting, because I wouldn't vote for either of them.
Can I just say, Liz Truss, by the way, and you will never hear me say this.
What?
Liz Truss made an excellent point recently.
Oh, did she?
Yes.
What about?
A journalist wrote an article, and I've got a feeling it was in the Telegraph, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
In support for Rishi, and why Rishi is the one to back. You know, I think his whole thing was structured around, if you want Thatcherite leadership, then Rishi is the one.
Right.
And she sort of like tweeted the article and said, surely this kind of thing should come with a disclaimer from the fact that the author went to University of Rishi Sunak, was best man at his wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, surely this pro-Rishi, why you should vote for Rishi article should come with some disclaimer that the writer is very closely tied to the man he's promoting. And I was like, no, that's an excellent point. She's absolutely right. And you will never hear me say that Liz Truss is right about anything.
The only thing she's right about, isn't it?
But
like,
she is bang on.
She's just,
or when they're all in bed with each other.
what she comes across like is a less, I'm not saying this to be a misogynist, a less intelligent version of Boris. She's not as good at speaking as him.
And she like copied Margaret Thatcher's
But
outfit in
like,
the TV debate.
She was raised by working class parents. She went to a local comprehensive in Leeds.
Yep.
She was a Lib Dem.
She joined the Lib Dem youth.
She chucked that in when it was convenient to, despite believing in things that are the complete opposite to what she was raised in, which happens. But she joins the Conservatives. She then staunchly believes in remaining in the EU. As part
campaigns.
And then, as the moment it was politically expedient, she jumped on the Brexit bandwagon and is now the face of Brexit.
I was going to play devil's advocate. You know I don't believe what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But could an argument be made that she, if we're going to do this will of the people, she acknowledged that she is there to represent the people. The people have voted. It's not what she thinks is best, but it's what her constituents have said is best. Therefore, she must represent them.
Well, if that was the case, she would have fought a lot harder for.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like I said,
surely.
I don't believe it, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just posing a question.
Politicians would trot out that argument, but
why? Haven't, by the way. That's why I say it, because it's been a frequent.
Why haven't the Conservatives listened to the public over a lot of things?
I've heard Liz Truss and her supporters throw it back a lot.
Yeah. I think it's a very easy thing to say, but it holds no water, because you'd point to any argument that the people really care about, and you'd just be like, well, why haven't you supported that? Because I guarantee she hasn't.
Can I ask you two questions, or frame
Please do.
the same question in two different ways? As a man who's on the left side of the political spectrum, who would you, first of all, who would you vote for if you were a Tory? Try and put yourself on the right. But then secondly, as a man on the left, who would you rather have going up against in the next general election?
First one, Rishi, just because out of the two of them, I think he'd be able to handle himself far better.
I don't agree with his policies, but I do respect the fact that he's been quite honest. Is not necessarily a word I would use, but with regard to the taxes, where Liz Truss and all the others were all saying we're going to cut taxes, and he just said, look, that's not something that's feasible right now. That's not something that's financially doable.
I think he has to take that line because of what he's overseen in Boris Johnson's
government.
Absolutely.
Like I said, honesty is maybe not the right word for it.
No, I think he's doing what's clever and what's intelligent to do in his position, because he doesn't have a lot of credibility.
By putting forward a position that looks as if it's...
Yeah, because then it looks like he's being consistent. Oh, well, that wasn't you just doing what Boris said. You genuinely believe we have to be more responsible. And also, it's like, look, guys, I'm being straight with you, which is something that you absolutely cannot say about Boris Johnson's government. No, exactly. But I think as a man on the left, definitely Liz Truss, because I think Sir Keir he's still not perhaps where I'd like him to be as a opposition leader, but he's certainly better than when he started. And I think he was unlucky in coming up against, sadly, a very good bullshitter in Boris Johnson. The amount of times I watched BMQs and I thought, Keir's nailed him here. And he just rolls off of it.
It was the big dog versus the human bollard. Yeah. That's what it was.
But I think Liz, from what I've seen of clips of her, and I watched some of the debates and stuff like that, I don't think she's got she might be able to grow into it. She might find the backbone, but it feels like she's a bit too shaky.
What I love, by the way, because I don't think so much has happened in the last couple of weeks, but I'm pretty sure when we last recorded the podcast, the debates were about to get underway.
Yeah.
And what I think is brilliant has happened then is that They did 2 of the debates, and it was very much decided, oh, do you know what? The public have seen too much of you speaking,
Yeah, so
and
we're
then
not doing it
pulled
now.
the other debates.
Yeah. I mean, and also I must admit on air, I had a huge and very steep climb down last week. I tried to make her from a sort of devil's advocate position, but also just I genuinely thought she seemed all right on Kemi Badenoch. Because I thought she seemed all right, and then I watched one of the debates, and they were talking about Brexit, and it was so
Car crashing,
almost juvenile the way she dealt with it that I was like, oh no, I can't take you seriously at all.
I'm glad you've come around to my way of thinking on that.
So yeah, but I thought Tom Tugendhat was all right.
Like I said, a number of Labour MPs have come out and said he was the one they were feared.
I think that for him though, the fact he's never held a cabinet position is what ultimately.
Do you know what though? I think. I mean, obviously he could have held it under May or under Cameron, but actually I don't know when he was elected. But I think I think that works in his favour for the voting public.
Yes.
The fact that he's not associated with Boris Johnson,
but not for the Conservatives. I think if any of the other candidates had have had more experience, because I think that's the only reason Liz Truss is where she is because she is a senior Conservative figure and has experience in cabinet. Same as Rishi Sunak. If he hadn't have been Chancellor of the Exchequer, he'd have never even been in contention for this. I think if any of the others have had a bit more experience, they would have had a far better chance. But it's odd because I honestly thought it might go a different way. I thought the Conservatives overall would go for someone that was completely separated.
I thought that's
from Boris Johnson, but for it to be two people, from a strategic
plan,
up until 2 weeks ago, both of them were still in his cabinet.
Looking at the next general election, that was the smart thing to do. They didn't go for it.
No, and I think ultimately that plays into the left. But saying that, the Conservatives have been so good with the media at shaping the conversation and putting across a certain narrative, I don't have a lot of confidence in getting them out of office, regardless of who's in charge.
No. Is there anything else in terms of politics, British politics that you want to speak about?
Mainly it.
In which case, I'm gonna tread us on a beautiful segue. We're gonna go from.
Would you like me to play the sound effect?
Play it. So we're gonna go from politics to lighter stuff to talk about, but we're still sticking with politics. It's very quick. Did you see Joe Biden and his auto cue incident in the last couple of weeks?
No.
He read the instructions on the auto cue. So he read this thing and he went, quote, da 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 da, end quote, repeat line. And it was just there's something.
I mean, he's borderline dementia, isn't he? I mean,
he's not quite.
He's not there.
He is full on old man though.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times he's fallen up the stairs getting into Air Force One is embarrassing.
But
now.
Those are steep stairs.
Can we just get an escalator for him? Surely there's a movable escalator you could get him.
Yeah, or can we just ban cameras? Do you know what I mean, from the airport?
No, but it's their thing in America, isn't it?
Yeah, they love it.
There is a very close relationship between the media and the presidency.
For me, I mean, go and watch it for anyone listening who hasn't seen it. But for me, it's the bit when he just the end of the bit when he goes, end quote, repeat line.
Yeah.
And then doesn't repeat the line, obviously just sort of like stares up, waiting for your OQ to move on.
Yeah, I think sadly for Joe Biden, he's probably got the job later than he probably should have. Like, he should have probably been doing it
10 years ago.
10, 15 years ago. Like, before Obama probably would have probably been best. But then he's become president off of being with Obama. So, but yeah, 10 years ago would have been ideal.
He's become president by not being Trump.
About, because they've gone from having Donald Trump, who is obviously larger than life and ridiculous, to he doesn't, like, there was a video of him falling off his bike. Like, all I see of this man is him falling over. Yeah. And, like, it doesn't command a lot of authority, does it? Like, if he walks into a war room and phones up another nation, like, if he phones up Putin, it's like, I'm standing up to you, mate. Come on. No one's believing this, Joe. Come on.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah,
did you fall over into the room on your way in? Well, yeah, I might have.
Yeah, me, yeah.
Exactly. Fuck off. Hangs up.
And cool. And now we're in something a bit different. Now we're in non-political territory.
Yeah.
My man, the floor is yours.
I wanted to talk about J.K. Rowling.
Sure.
Because to be honest with you, I'd heard she'd got herself into hot water over the last few years with comments made. I don't know how well versed in it you are, whether you know what she said or
A little bit, probably. She's basically she's spoken about sex. She's very much a believer of sex-based women's rights.
Okay.
And what she did is she came out and she supported what is called a TERF, which is a sort of trans-exclusive radical feminist. I don't remember what the R stands for, but it's trans-exclusive feminism.
Okay.
The idea of let's fight for women's rights, but
Exclude
not those
trans
women. And someone who's quite turfy, for want of a better term, and she supported them, and then she supported the LGB Alliance, which we've briefly spoken about on here before, which are a queer community that are very much excluding the trans aspect of the community.
Has she voiced what her issue is though? Like, has she actually like fleshed it out, or?
Well, no, she just basically keeps supporting them kind of thing. And then what she did was because I read she created one of the big things was she created a pylon for these two trans women, went to her house in Edinburgh. The reason they were able to go to a house, by the way, is because it's part of a tour.
Okay.
It's on Google Maps and whatever, and
so it's well known where she lives.
It's well known, and that's very important here because they went to a house and they sort of held up like the middle finger and a trans flag or whatever. Right? It's nothing, and she accused them of doxying. I'm pretty sure that's the term, doxy, or doxing. I'm pretty sure
docking is something
doxing,
different. I'm pretty
what
sure.
It is it's giving away someone's personal details online. So it's giving away their address.
Right, okay. But yeah, you just said it's public knowledge anyway.
Yeah. So what she did was she created this pylon by all these people coming on and attacking these women by going, and whatever. And it was completely being washed over. The responses were going, guys, it's on a fucking tour. Like, it's not that well hidden. Like, it's. She's got at least 2 properties. And one of them is not known. This one is the one, like I said, it's on a tour. Like, it's pretty well known.
Would you say she's transphobic?
Well, it's hard to deny it, given that she said a couple of years ago she made a comment saying, "Look, I'm not a transphobe." She said, "If your rights were ever under attack, I'd march for you."
Okay.
But then their rights were under attack.
She didn't,
and she was completely silent on the issue. She didn't come out and say
anything.
So
what she's trying to claim is that she wants to differentiate the rights between a trans woman and a biological woman.
That's her stance. But like I said, the fact that she sort of said, like, I'll defend you if you're under attack.
Yeah.
And then when they were under attack, said nothing.
Yeah, okay, fair. So she said, I'm an ally, but then obviously never backed it up.
Yeah.
And her behaviour outside of that demonstrates the opposite.
And her, like I said, her allegiance with groups that are quite clearly trans exclusive.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not saying I don't think her opinions are fair. I don't know them well enough, but from the way you've described them, if that's how
I
she
hope
feels.
I've done it justice, and I
no,
hope
you
I've
did
got my
that quite
point across to
eloquently
you.
because I did try and research sort of what she done, and I couldn't find a lot. That I heard that she was definitely saying there are differences between a biologically born, like I think she was trying to argue that the sex you're born with is biological and whatever else you go on from there.
Like I said, she believes, and she said she believes in sex-based women's rights.
Okay. Well, I think that's disappointing. But I try and put myself in other people's shoes in the sense of, like, I can understand perhaps not understanding, but again, I don't know if that's my naivety in thinking that she's ignorant of the issues, because I don't necessarily think she would be, because I think she's an intelligent woman.
I think she could have done herself a lot of favours, not that she needs favours doing for her, but she could have done herself a lot of favours
by being more open.
If she did, when the trans community were under attack over the last couple of years, and there were a couple of huge instances of them being directly under attack.
Well, they are now.
If she had have actually come out and sort of supported them, and she didn't need to necessarily support them and go, "You're one of us," but she could have said, "Hey, leave those kids alone."
Even
kind
if
of
she'd
thing.
have done a tweet saying, "I abhor all violence, including the violence being perpetrated against the trans
She's
community."
not taking away her stance on sex-based women's rights. She's not taking away that.
And the thing
then
is,
what she could have done is she could have kind of been like, it would have backed her claim that this is what I believe, but I am an ally.
Do you think that's why it must leak into a degree of transphobia? Because there's no reason why she couldn't have the opinion she has, but not still back them to be protected. Do you see what I mean?
No, absolutely. And I think that and this is the thing.
Because I think that's where it gets dodgy for me, because I don't mind people not even being opposed, but like not understanding it or having certain opinions on where we should divide things. I think
this is the thing, is that...
But if you don't believe everyone should be equally protected...
There was a point where she did say exactly what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
She's saying, look, these are my views, but I'm still on your side.
Okay.
And then when it came down to it,
just
it was
didn't
like...
back it up at all.
You're very quiet over this issue.
And she's got a big platform. She's got a huge platform. Arguably the most famous.
I was going to say, did you bring it up, or was it part?
Well, yeah. The reason I brought it up was because I saw the Quidditch. And also, can I just say, I knew it was an official sport now, right?
Yeah.
But I did not know it was a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like there is. I wrote this down. There is a US Quidditch organisation and a Major League Quidditch.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Sure.
And basically, they've said the reason they're doing it is because they've been trying to distance themselves from the franchise and J.K. Rowling in specific for a while, and they wanted to find the best way to do it. And they said being known as the Quidditch League was impacting their opportunities for TV revenue, sponsorships and things like that because of the association.
Because she's a controversial top figure at the moment.
And I think part of that is quite... Do you think that's silly?
Well, I think one of the things, there were lots of jokes made about it, about the fact that... are you aware of the term dead naming?
I've heard it, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what it means.
So it's when you call a trans person by the name they were born with rather than the name they go by now.
Yes.
So, for example, if you were born a female, and you were called Samantha, and I'm sitting here opposite you, you clearly identify as Andrew. You've told me you're Andrew,
and
I called you Samantha.
Yeah.
That's dead naming you.
Okay.
And what I did like was they were like, her sport has now got a dead name.
Yeah, you can't call it.
She has now created essentially a trans sport in many ways.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think it's a shame because I could probably imagine she isn't a bad person and she doesn't have bad intentions. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I think she has backed herself into that corner. Like I said, it would have been
could
really
be solved
easy
by being far more open.
And all of this has been done on... Most of this has been done on Twitter, right? You just send out a tweet, like it's pretty easy.
I said,
so
you
she
just
could have really easily kind of... And like there would have still been some people debating her and whether she's...
Or saying she's jumping on.
your sex-based rights, it's ridiculous and whatever. But that's like a separate thing. The fact that she said... The fact that and because she's got such a big following, every time she associates or stays quiet on an issue... I
said to my missus today, actually, because I said I was going to be talking to you about it, I think part of her problem in general, and it doesn't necessarily leak into this, but I think from what I've seen of her, how she comes across, I think she either definitely didn't expect the size of Harry Potter to be what
No, of course she didn't. How can you?
And I think to a degree, like a lot of people, when they're suddenly thrust into this new world of fame and everyone knowing who you are, resents the hell out of it. And I think that leaks into most of what I've seen of her. Like, she never seems a particularly happy person.
Yeah, also I think the other thing, and this might be digging a bit too deep, the other thing that kind of feeds into her transphobic image, or the idea that she's transphobic, is, I don't know if you're aware that she has a male pen name.
Yes, because she wrote a sex book, didn't she?
Well, she's wrote a couple of things under the name Robert Galbraith.
Yeah.
And apparently Galbraith, there's a thing there with the person that she's allegedly taken inspiration from the name from, is quite transphobic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to present that too much as an argument because I don't know enough about it.
You don't know whether it's people have dug very deep.
Yeah, I just remember seeing it in passing, kind of thing.
Well, no, like, look, I think ultimately,
I know it's part of the discussion.
With a lot of these things and all sorts of incidents, there's no smoke without fire. She wouldn't have all of this anti-trans attention if she hadn't have done things.
Like I said, the thing for me that really kind of pushed it over the edge in terms of me thinking that she is perhaps a transphobe.
Yeah.
Was when she, it was that, like I said it a couple of times, that tweet where she came out and went, look, this is what I believe, but I'm on your side if shit comes down to it. I've got your backs.
And then
shit came down to it and she was absolutely nowhere to be seen.
No, and I think I agree with you on that, because like I said, I think I can't understand where, because like, I don't have an issue with people having different opinions on how we should deal with it and things like that, but I think ultimately, at a fundamental level, you should believe that everyone should be protected, looked after, and we should have everyone's back. Do you know what I mean? We'll sort out the details together as we go on. But, you know.
Sound like a true politician, man. We'll figure that out later.
Well, no, but I think fundamentally
start.
my approach to most things is, like, ultimately the only way we're going to achieve anything
It's together.
is
We're
together.
all human beings.
So, like, whether I like Tories or not is irrelevant. Ultimately, you have to work with them to get shit done.
Yeah, and it's that thing. I'm happy to sit with people and befriend people with differing views.
Yeah.
But if their views directly either invalidate or attack another human being and their right to exist,
yeah,
then we've got problems. For example, I'm happy to befriend people with different views, but if they're homophobic,
yeah,
and they're attacking someone's
thing.
right to exist,
it's so
then
difficult though, because
then what we've got is we've not got a different
You
political
come up-
view. We've got a difference in human value,
yeah,
and that's
Yeah.
something that I can't sit with.
yeah. No, I agree with you, but it's so difficult, isn't it? Because we've all had those moments with people where someone you know and perhaps have even respected in the past.
I can remember
Cross a line,
someone,
saying something.
I'm not going to name her or
their
anything, but in the
opinion.
last, like, it was maybe 10 years ago, or maybe not quite that long ago, and I remember being, like, relatively close to him. I sort of hung out with him quite a bit.
Yeah,
And then as something happened, and I was able to, they expressed a view, and it was like, oh, you're
Yeah.
racist. I was like, that's
Yeah.
not. And then you think, how did I not know that? Like, how did that not come up? Or
Yeah.
how did I not see that if it was a thing?
yeah,
And then slowly it's like the goggles have been
unveiling.
removed, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, you are quite racist, so we're done.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's because we've all had those moments, and it's I never know
How
what
to
to
deal
do
with
in the
them
moment.
entirely,
Most of
no.
the time, I end up doing that awkward British thing of sort of just laughing it off and walking away, or like trying to end. Like I had it one day at work recently where a customer said something so racist, not at me, but was just talking to me, and I was just like, "What? Like, what do you say?" Because I can't start lecturing an old man while I'm at work.
Well, do you know what? I have recently started taking a bit of a stand. Not massively like you. I will still walk away where I can. Like, my preference
Yeah.
is to just walk away and pretend I haven't heard anything, which is maybe not the best thing to do, but certainly at work. I'm really
in a
talking at
professional
work. In a professional setting, my ideal.
it's-
But I've got to be honest, quite a lot of the time I will say, like, I will just say, actually, you know, I don't think that's, you know,
Yeah.
these are human beings, and I
yeah.
don't think you're doing them a justice.
No, I think that's fair.
Right. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss on that, or
No,
do you think
we covered
it
that quite nicely.
adequately? In which case, I've got a few. This one I learned. I love this. In 1988, Willem Dafoe played Jesus
Okay.
in a role. Final scene, or maybe not the final scene, but the climax of the movie was the crucifixion,
Yeah.
him hanging on a cross. And it's what's key to this scene is he is hanging on a cross naked.
Okay.
And I love this. He had to have a penis double because the director felt like people
His
wouldn't
cock
be
was
able to
too
sympathise with him. His cock was too big. And there's so many things to unpack with that. First of all, kudos
Imagine
to Willem
having that as a
Dafoe,
problem,
my
yeah.
man.
Absolute
Second of all,
baller.
imagine being this poor schmuck where they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're like, no one's
Every
gonna
time Willem
listen.
Dafoe meets a new lady.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
And just the idea that, you know, some poor extra or actor has been standing there and they've been like, look, mate, no one's
We
going to
need
be
a smaller
intimidated by
dick.
your penis.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know, you know, it gets me a more prominent role.
Could you
than a-
imagine going home to your
slightly
missus that
bigger
day? What
payback,
got
yeah.
you the role today, babe? Oh,
Yes, I'm going to be Willem Dafoe's
my
penis. It's
small
like,
cock.
oh, really? Oh, his penis was his penis a bit too small. They needed someone bigger. It's like something like that. Yeah, something similar.
They needed the more intimidating penis.
And I don't know how I only just found that out, but
I'd love to know who the director was.
I mean, I can look it up now. It'll take 2 seconds.
But just imagine being Willem Dafoe in that moment, hanging from the crucifix, like dick swinging. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know-
Imagine having to be the special effects guy, CG in someone
this
else's rod in.
this is brilliant. So the film, I wasn't aware of this film, and I feel like I should be. The Last Temptation of Christ.
I've never heard of it.
the
I can't believe they
director
got
was
Willem Dafoe to play Jesus.
Marty Scorsese.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel played Jesus.
See, if there was ever
David Bowie played Pontius Pilate.
Wow.
We're talking 88.
Yeah.
So we go back, but yeah, there's some big.
Like, if there was
names.
ever a director that I would have thought would have been comfortable with a big penis on screen, it would have been Scorsese.
But
Do you
well,
know
it
what
was
I mean?
specifically for the role of Christ in that moment. He
Yeah.
wanted the audience to have
But
sympathy, and they thought
do you know
looking
what?
up at a man swinging like
No,
an elephant,
I
they
think
wouldn't have.
the Catholics would have loved seeing a hung Jesus Christ. Do you know what
Do
I
you
mean?
think?
If he's swinging a tree trunk, they're like, that's our man.
They'd have been like, I'll tell you what,
That's the son of God.
he's dying for our sins. I can see where they're fitting them all.
Yeah.
Look at that.
His cock's
magnificent.
overflowing with sins.
You know what I mean? You just see Catholics replacing their crosses with dildos hanging
Yeah.
around their necks. And they're like, what's that? It like represents Jesus, my man.
And
You
his
did
huge
this thing.
manhood.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
And like, look, to be honest, the male phallus region has always been part of art and ideology, and I think it would have fit. I think Willem Dafoe's huge penis should have been honoured in the annals of history.
I just think as well, what's really impressive,
pun.
perfect punnage.
Yeah.
What's really impressive for me is that if that
It's
was
huge.
me, and look,
I'd want it on screen if it was me.
No, if that was me, I'll be telling that in every interview that I did for the next like 20 years. I've been like casually trying to slip in the fact that I once had to be replaced because my penis was too big. Do you know what I mean? And this is we only just
If
I
I was swinging that hard, do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm doing all right, Jake, but I'm not swinging. I'm not getting turned.
I don't think a director is going
off screen.
I don't think a director is going to tell me
mine's
people are not going to have sympathy for me.
I'd want it honoured on screen. I'd want the
Yeah.
right lighting. Do you know what I mean? I'd fluff it a bit, make it even more impressive. Do you know what I mean?
I'd fight for it.
Yeah. It'd
So
be part of my contract.
So when people see it and they go, "Oh, that's quite impressive," was that a double? And you'd be like, "No double needed, my man. That was all me."
No, that is double. Double anything you got.
That's all Jesus right there.
That is all Jesus.
You know what they call me, Christ? That's what they say when I drop trowel.
When they hear the thud.
They're like, Jesus Christ. They're like, that's what they call me, baby.
Yeah. Don't take my name in vain.
So yeah, just wanted to slip that in there to
No, I
fun
like
little
it.
story.
I wanted to talk about aliens.
Cool.
Do you think they exist? If so, have we met them, or why haven't we? And if they don't exist, why?
Well, I think I have a very specific view on this. I believe aliens absolutely do exist. I don't believe the size of the universe that we can consider the idea that
it's
they don't.
Impossible.
I think a couple of things. I think first of all, obviously,
Do you think
to
we've
find the right
ever had any
to find the
contact?
same situations that we have here on Earth that allow life to flourish on Earth,
Yeah.
you've got to go a long way away. Therefore, we're unlikely to meet them because they're not going to have the capabilities to travel. We don't have the capabilities to travel or communicate. But I think
I've got something I would say in reverse to that. When you
sure, but I think more than anything, my main issue with it is our definition of life.
yeah,
Do I think life exists elsewhere in the universe as we know it and as we define it?
yeah,
Maybe not. But there's a lot about the universe that
No,
we
but
don't
I
know.
think
So
that-
life could exist that we just don't know
but by
it's
life
life.
I mean sentient beings. They don't have to take the same shape or form as us. But for me, the idea of thinking that, you know, the chances of us existing were very low, but for the chances of it to have not happened anywhere else, considering the size of the universe, is almost impossible to me as well. And I have my own little, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to ever thought about it. I'm definitely not.
I mean, there's
But-
the sci-fi channel's dedicated to it.
I love the sci-fi channel sometimes. I love that guy that's like, I'm not saying it was aliens.
Oh, but it was
But it was aliens. It's like my response to a lot of things. Whenever like Leanne says anything to me that's like, I don't know what the answer is, babe. Do you know what I mean?
You're like, I'm not saying
it was aliens, babe, but it was aliens. But my theory is we put so much effort in to go into space, right, and to get into the moon and all these things. And as soon as we got there, we stopped. We more or less, we do a little bit, you know, sending shit to Mars, but in general, the only people really trying to do space exploration now is private interests. It's not governments.
Yeah.
It's not, we want to send probes and drones and satellites out there, and some of the images that have come out recently have been
phenomenal.
amazing. But in general, we stop. Why?
Is this going to be conspiratorial? Did we find
Well, that's
something
what
on
I'm
the
saying.
moon?
Well, no, I'm like, did we meet? Were they there? Are we being watched? Do you know what I mean? I don't know what.
And
the
they just
answer
sort of looked at us and they went, "You saw nothing."
Or is it they're actually telling the truth that for once they saw something was too expensive and cost prohibitive at the time to do, and they decided not to continue doing it? But then that wouldn't answer as to why now, when things are like now, the power of the iPhone I'm showing to the camera is more powerful than the supercomputer that landed
Maybe
men
it's a
on the
case
road
of
on
maybe
the
it's
moon.
a case of
why haven't we tried again?
You know, some scientists, like if it is me going, oh, do you know what? I'm going to sort of do the whole. I mean, I love space, so like I absolutely would do space exploration. But there's a chance that I go, I'm going to do some space exploration. Who else is in that game? They're like, oh, like Musk's doing a bit, Bezos is doing a bit. I'm like,
Musk can't even get anything out of the atmosphere.
I'm not sure I want to be in the same.
I think Musk is too distracted having kids at the moment.
I'm not sure I want the same hobbies as Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
The thing is, though,
particularly Elon Musk,
ultimately, like, and this sort of links into the start of the conversation we were talking about environmental issues, is that there's a strong likelihood that the answer to the human race's survival isn't going to be staying here.
Do you think?
Well, because ultimately, as things stand, there is no public sentiment, there's no government across the world at all that's truly pushing to improve things from what they are now.
I don't think we have the technology, nor do I think we're.
I don't think we do.
But nor do I think we're on track to have the technology.
No, I don't think it would be
before the Earth basically dies
and moving somewhere else.
No, bringing something in.
No, I think it'd be more of a case of a bit like in Interstellar, seeding a population that grows completely separate to us.
I just don't think we will have the. I don't think we'll have the technology available by the time the Earth dies.
I think there's a good chance you're right. But ultimately, I think that's what the answer is.
That deadline's being moved forward.
Yeah, but I think ultimately that's what the answer is, and I think that's why people like Elon Musk is being realistic and going. Ultimately, I don't think the salvation of this planet is this planet.
To the British government and to NASA and to the Russian Space Agency and to the Chinese
Indian
Space Agency and to the Indian Space Agency, if they're listening, I'm game for it. I'll be one of your seedlings.
No, but like the seeding process would be none of us would survive it apart from maybe a couple of people.
That's what I'm saying. I'm game to be one of those people.
I don't think you're first on the list though, bro.
No, I'm just putting my name out there.
If Musk is funding it, he's definitely taking one of the spaces.
I don't want to go like...
And he's not going to take a dude with him because who's he going to impregnate?
Honestly, if you told me the choice was between dying a horrible death on Earth and spending the next like 47 fucking years on
with Musk,
I'd just take the painful death.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It'd be challenging. I think ultimately I'd feel the same. I don't know if I could live with Musk.
Fuck that, I'd die. I'm fine.
But yeah, so like my thing is, I don't know whether we have. I think.
Do you think we've met aliens?
Perhaps at some point. I don't know when. Like, there's some shit going on.
Do you think aliens built the pyramids?
Hunger Dryas. I don't know. No. I don't.
I'm so glad you said no. I mean, if you want to believe it, believe it.
Can I be honest with you?
There's a little bit of you.
There's a little bit of me that thinks there's something going on with aliens.
No, you believe what you want to believe.
To this day, we still couldn't recreate them.
Oh, yeah, we could.
No, we couldn't. Not to the accuracy that they did.
I mean, you've got like, what was that place in Syria or whatever it is? There's like fucking hundreds of the bastards.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is with our current technology, they still wouldn't be able to cut to the accuracy that the Egyptians did.
I find that hard to believe.
It's
I know some people have said that, but
I
find that very hard
But
to
there's
believe.
also things, just while we're on it, I don't know if you've... I never remember his name. Graham Hancock. Have we heard of Graham Hancock?
The name may ring a bell.
He's pilloried by the archaeological world. He's not an archaeologist. He's a writer, a journalist, and has written books on periods of time and about specifically ancient Egypt and what came before the Hunger Dryas, which was a huge ice age period on the planet and things like that. And he has theories surrounding it. There's places called like I can never get the name right. Göbekli Tepe. And we've just
like a little Welsh village, is it?
No, it's like, I don't know where it is. It's definitely not in Wales. But they uncovered this huge chamber with these huge stone monoliths that predate basically anything we've ever seen before. And there's now evidence that like the water damage on the Sphinx, for example, predates like the level of precipitation to cause the water damage on the Sphinx.
It predates what we think.
Well, there's no recorded waterfall of any form that would have caused it in the time periods it was supposed to have been built.
I imagine the weathermen were working overdrive back in ancient Egypt.
No, but I don't know how they do it, Jake, but they can.
No, that's fair.
That's fair. But yeah, so there's something going on with the pyramids. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's aliens. It could be aliens.
I think what you'll find is, what you're looking for is, I don't know if it's, I'm not saying it's aliens.
Yeah.
But it's aliens.
But I also think potentially if it wasn't aliens, I think pre the Ice Age, there was a sophisticated, probably more advanced society. Maybe not more advanced, but an advanced society that lived before that was more or less wiped out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So those are the things I believe in, Jake. What do you
You
think?
believe it? No. I think, like I said, I've got my.
What do you think?
Like I said,
Do you believe
I
the
think by
common
our
narrative-
definition of life, I think that's where
Yeah.
that's where the issue is for finding alien life forms.
Yeah. No, I think there's space travelling aliens out there.
I mean, that's fair enough.
I'm not saying they've necessarily reached us. I think there's a chance they could have.
You think just like us, they've just gone to their own moons?
Well,
whatever.
No, I think
Further.
yeah.
I think that's all a bit sci-fi for my personal taste.
Yeah, it could
I
be,
think.
but it's with how long the universe has been around, it's feasible. It's not impossible.
Yeah, it's quite.
It's
I said,
slim
for me,
chance
it's for me.
because our existence
What we're talking
is a
about
slim
is
chance.
what we're talking about is our own beliefs
Yeah,
on it,
yeah.
and that's
But
why.
I just feel like in the infinity of space and time, Jake, there is a possibility that it is all real,
Yeah, that's fair.
and you can't disprove it.
I can't, and that's the beauty of it. That's
Yeah.
the beauty of this discussion.
I just sound mental when I'm talking about it.
You sound like a very intelligent, articulate.
I don't think I
Gentlemen.
articulated all of my views there particularly well.
No,
No, I could have done better.
no. Well, I mean, it's gone now.
Yeah, it's done.
I'm not going to let you
I
go
now
back on it.
sound
I'm not
like
going to give you another chance.
A David Icke sort of character, don't I?
Honestly,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Little
There's
bit.
like a tiny little bit.
I'm talking about conspiracies. I've talked about 9/11 being.
I
an
mean, I
inside
brought that.
job.
I brought that up by mentioning the pyramids.
I would
kind
be-
of pushed for the
Look,
Ikeism.
I'd be a backbench Tim Pot part of a party, wouldn't I? I'd be the guy that's getting phone calls from people saying, "Mate, they're killing babies." And I'm like, "They're killing babies." I'd be Alex Jones on the back bench. Do you know
Yeah,
what
I mean, you
Just,
could run for like the Republican Party in the US. And you probably
they're
get a
killing
seat.
babies.
You probably get a seat.
Yeah, I reckon I could do it.
I reckon you could.
I could fake the accent. I'd have to be from somewhere like Alabama.
And that should be our question to the public, to the viewers, or viewers. They can watch on YouTube.
Yeah, they
to
can.
the listeners
They don't,
today.
but they can.
If Big runs for Senate as a Republican, what should be his campaign slogan?
Bigger's better.
It's good. It's pretty good. Can you top it? Write to us.
Yeah.
CrossingSwords19@gmail.com.
I'm quite proud of that. That was on the spot. Bigger's
It's good.
better.
Message us on Instagram, CrossingSwords_podcast.
Yep.
Or
Slide
hit us
into
up
our
on
DMs.
Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Swords Crossing @Swords Crossing, and let us know what should the hashtag be. What should the 3-word slogan be? Or no, it doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be 3 words. What should the
No,
slogan
yeah.
be? Can you improve on big is better?
Should it just be bigger?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's my version of leveling up. Everything's just going to be bigger.
it's good. I like it.
Our Big Macs aren't big enough. They're not. They don't look representative of what they do in the adverts. We need to make that
You
right.
could win a campaign on that.
Yeah.
Like you could just on that one.
I know what the
pledge.
people want, Jake.
it's more food. It's more
what
realistic
It's
expectation.
what I believe in, most importantly, Jake, and that will come across to the viewers.
It's to
and
hold
listeners.
our restaurant and fast food service to a higher standard.
Absolutely. Have you had a Pizza Hut recently, Jake?
Haven't.
The
I'm not a Pizza
topping-
Hut man.
No, to be honest, I haven't had one for ages, and I stopped because of this very reason. They started skimping on the toppings, and as
Did
soon as
they?
you do that,
Shall I tell you where it doesn't
when it's
skimp?
costing me £30 for a pizza and 2 sides, is a
Shall I tell you
problem,
where it
especially
doesn't-
when there's not enough pepperoni.
In America, Papa John's doesn't skimp. When we were in
Oh, don't.
Louisiana,
Yeah.
me and Ash had a Papa John's.
You were in Louisiana and you're in a Papa John's.
There was
Of
fuck
all
all,
the
there was
food you
fuck
could have
all
gone
around.
for,
There was fuck all around, and we're looking at what we
Beignet.
hadn't eaten for a while. And
barbecue. Louisiana is famous for barbecue. And you said
no,
you
we had some.
couldn't
Listen,
find
we
a
had some.
barbecue
We had
joint.
some seafood while we were in New Orleans, and we had some.
Did you have beignets in New Orleans?
Oh, they were so good. Yeah, we had them from the famous
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah.
I can't think what it's called, but yeah,
I
they
can
were so
see
good. And we also had. What did we have? We had alligator. We had fried
Nice.
alligator. So Jean, we
How
did
was
have,
that?
but this was at the campsite. It was kind of gamey.
Okay.
But we were at the campsite and there was fuck all around the campsite. So
Oh,
we
right.
were
You're
literally
right,
we
I'll
went
let
up
you
to.
off.
To be fair, there was a Domino's up the road. We went up there
Yeah.
and like they were taking drive-through orders, but they were shut. Like we couldn't actually go in, and we were like, "Well, they just lost our
Fucking
business."
COVID.
But yeah, the cheese in the stuffed crust
Yeah.
was too much. Like Ash maybe had about 2 or 3 bits and was
Yeah,
like,
but
"I'm not going to eat that."
I bet
That's
you
insane.
if you had Papa John's from England, it'd be completely different
be
because of
fine.
what we allow in our products.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Yeah. What else you got, bro?
I got 3 fun stories.
Go for
2 I'm going to group together, but I got well, 4, but I'm going to group 2 together. So I've got 3. You're not a cricket fan, are you? But are you
No.
aware of the IPL?
The Indian Premier League.
Yes, the T20 format.
Yeah, it's the richest part of the game, isn't it?
It's
They
huge.
throw money.
It's huge. Are you aware of the farmers in Gujarat who put on a fake IPL by using unemployed people from nearby villages,
No.
using official IPL jerseys, but they created fake team names, fake player names.
Love it.
They live streamed it on YouTube.
Nice. Are they being sued?
All for the benefit of gambling Russians. It was all for the Russian betting market.
And there was Russians actually betting on these
Russians
guys.
betting on
And
this.
they know nothing.
Watching the,
Watching
live stream of these farmers in a field playing cricket.
Yeah,
the umpires had walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
And what would happen is the organisers, based on what people were betting on, would walkie-talkie to the umpire who would tell the players, you need to get out now. You need to score a run. You need to score a 4. It was
So it
so...
was
they were
fixed.
rigging their own fake league.
Jesus.
It's one of my favourite things. It's one of my favourite stories. They
How
they
amazing is
downloaded
that?
crowd sounds from the internet
No.
to make it, to give it a kind of
atmosphere.
It's one of my favourite stories of the last few weeks. I absolutely adore it.
I like that.
They created their own fake league
Made themselves
and rigged
some
it.
money.
And do you know what's beautiful? And I don't say this because the Russian people are nice enough people, because of the shit that's gone on with Putin. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice that the Russians were getting targeted on that one.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to get their back.
How sad must life be in Russia? Do you know what I mean? For that to be what you do with your day.
So let's go bet on a fake cricket league.
Yeah,
they
this-
didn't know it was fake, to be fair. They were getting
Did they
called.
not?
No, they didn't know it was
what?
fake.
It was
They thought
genuinely a stitch up.
they thought it was the IPL they
got-
were betting on.
They deserve it, don't
Yeah.
they? I thought they knew.
No, they thought they were live streaming real IPL, and they weren't. They were just watching some guys in the field who were feeding them fake crowd noises,
No.
fake team names, fake player names, and they're just unemployed people in
That
a
is
field
just silly.
playing in a farmer's field or a couple of farmers' fields.
Well, they deserved
It's a
it.
beautiful story.
They deserved it.
Have we got a soundbite? Have we got an applause for the people of Gujarat, India?
We do. Just let it soak in for a second. Let it feel good.
Well played, guys. Well played.
Yeah, we're
We
proud of you.
salute you here on Crossing Swords podcast.
Always. Right. Jake, have you got...
Another one.
I have. Do you want me to quickly go through 'em?
Hit me with your rhythm stick.
Are you aware of Vicar John Jeffs, aged 74,
No.
who is a
Should I be?
vicar in Middleton Cheney in
Oh.
Northamptonshire?
What's he done?
You may be, because in September 20, and the reason it's only just come to light is because he's just had his trial. He's just gone to court.
Oh, no.
He was caught in the Baptist Centre in Middleton Cheney,
Naked?
in Northampton. Nope, wearing a pair of ladies' stockings, thrusting into a Henry Hoover.
Oh, no.
Now, he was fined £845 in cost. He was, which I presume covers the therapy bill for that Henry Hoover.
Yeah.
£200 compensation to the person who saw it, and has had to sign on to the sex offenders register. Now, he blames, by the way, his defence was...
Does he deserve to be on the sex offenders
That's
register?
what I was going to ask. So this is what I was going to ask. So first of all, he says that he blames the recent loss of his wife, pain medications, and an under-medicated diabetes, which is a hell of a claim, because that normally when my medication is a bit low, I do find myself fiddling with household appliances.
What this comes down to...
But I do think, is that a crime?
Where was he again when he did it?
He was in
Was
the
it in
Baptist
his
Centre.
parish? Was it in
He was in
his
like
church?
essentially like a community town hall, like a church town hall.
I mean, it's not ideal, is it? But
I don't know if it's a crime.
I mean, it's a family place.
They're open, like anyone can come in, but
Yeah.
who the fuck's walking into a church in the middle of the day? Do you know what I mean? Really?
Yeah, he should have been
Even
left
the most
alone
hard,
to
even the Ned
fuck
Flanders
his
amongst
Hoover.
us. He should have been allowed to fuck his Hoover.
Yeah, I think sex register's taking it too far.
I agree. I think that's ridiculous.
It's a bit harsh.
For
The
what it
man's
is, I
not
mean,
a pedo.
Listen, if that
I
gets
mean,
you on
he
the
could be.
if that gets you
If
on
he's
the,
into fucking Hoovers,
I mean,
there's a
we'd
good chance he fucks kids.
we'd have to find out how old the Henry Hoover is. I don't know what their age.
Brand new out the box.
Fresh out the box.
Yeah, brand new.
He
It's
was
just
like-
been
he was-
refurbished.
When he was ordering it, he was like, "And has this been sitting around on the stock shelves for a while?" Like, no, sir. Fresh off the machines. I'll have it.
Yeah,
I'll
perfect.
take it.
I want one that's fresh.
I don't
in.
think it's a sex offender worthy thing.
No, I mean, no. Off of that alone, I mean, just in dint of the fact the things he could have been caught doing.
Also,
Do you know what I mean?
£200 for the person who saw him. What's an easy payday?
Do you know what though? It's a bit meagre, isn't it? Is it worth dobbing someone
And like
in?
at the end of the day, like would that would that do that much harm to your like mental health or anything?
And also,
watching him,
would the 200 quid fix any mental harm?
oh yeah, but you know, just walking in on him fucking a Hoover, would that actually? Because I'm not being funny. Like,
the things you'd laugh, wouldn't
I
you?
had an incident a couple of years ago.
What?
Not quite like. So I went
You
to
were fucking
went
a
to do,
Henry
went to
Hoover?
do a collection. Couldn't find this woman's house. Eventually found it. That's a story in itself. Finding this fucking property. Found the house. The front door was wide open. Knocked on the door. Got no response. I kind of stepped in and shouted out and said, "Hi, we're such and such. We're here for the collection."
Don't tell me she was dildoing herself.
No. She just walked out stark bollock naked. And
Mama like that. Mama like.
and I was like,
that.
"What the fuck am I
Was she
looking
good
at?"
looking?
No, she was quite old.
Oh no.
And I was like, Why is your front door open?
She's
why are you
that's
coming
her
out naked?
thing, bro.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what she's into.
That's what my mum said. She was like,
that's her kink.
my mum was like, she was waiting for a gentleman caller, and she thought maybe it was you. Like, and I was like, no, I called out. She's like, yeah, but what if they were role playing?
No, I don't think it's her thing in sense of she had.
No, voyeuristic that she wants to be seen.
Yeah, I don't think it was a scheduling conflict. I think it was a deliberate.
Like it was.
I
a
want
moment,
these guys to see me naked because I'm gonna.
Listen, it was a
throw
moment in my
myself off
life,
to
and
it
it will
later.
stay. It will stay with me.
That woman.
Do I think I deserve?
Came thinking about you walking in on her that night.
Do I
Jay.
think I deserve £200 compensation? No. Do I think she should be signed up to the sex offenders list? No. Even though technically,
I mean,
she sort of exposed
sort of,
herself.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you're
It
not
was in her
underage
house,
though.
but,
You look
like,
a
her
bit
front door was
underage at
wide
times
open.
if you like clean shave, but
But listen, I'm with you. I've literally got it in my notes. To be fair, right
but
next to, I've got he appeared in court for it this month, and then I've got in brackets like, should he? Like, should we really be taking
No.
someone to court for that?
no.
And then again, it's like, what? Yeah, it's like
I think a
he's
slap
signing
on the
sex
wrist,
offenders
some
register.
sort of fine.
Next to signing the sex offenders register, I've got again in brackets. I've got really.
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't
bit
know.
much.
I don't go for it. Yeah.
I think that's a bit over the top.
I mean, quickly rifle through my last two.
Yeah,
We love on this podcast a good bum wiping debate or anecdote. Leon Gleed, 29 years old from Cumberland. I hope I'm saying that right. I'd probably not because it's
is
Welsh.
it Wales? Yeah.
Used toilet cleaning wipes to wipe his backside and ended up burning his backside. It took several increasingly worrying
Oh,
toilet
it was
trips
the anti-back one,
before
wasn't
he
it?
consulted his girlfriend, who pointed out his mistake. Now, to be fair, the packaging is pretty plain, and I could have made the same mistake. He describes it as like the night after a hot curry, but 10 times worse. It's basically
I mean,
bleached,
look,
basically
bro.
bleached his arse.
No, it's just being stupid, isn't it? He's just thick.
And finally, Jim Metcalf was in the news this last couple of weeks, who frequently uses travels on the Caledonian Sleeper, which is a train basically up to the Highlands from
Yeah.
Glasgow. It's an overnight train, hence it's a sleeper.
I think
You
it's
get your own,
beautiful and it's expensive as well.
you get your own little bunk, your own little sort of private space. Obviously, you sleep. The idea is you sleep on the way
Yeah.
there, and then you get woken up with tea and coffee and a bacon roll. Tea or coffee and a bacon roll. This time, however, everyone was woken up by the station guard at Glasgow, having never left the platform. What happened was everyone was allowed to board the train. No one was told that it was cancelled until 5:30 the next morning, when the guard came on and went, "You need to get off the train because we need the platform."
What?
Quite shocking, really.
So they were all no, but the thing is,
Yeah, he went to sleep.
how many of them didn't notice they were moving?
I don't know.
They weren't moving. Like, to be honest with you, they're all thick as shit.
I don't know, but
I'd like to think because the
said-
thing is, I wouldn't have gone to sleep until I felt it moving.
No, I probably wouldn't either. But
So-
like I said, he's quite a
For
frequent
the
traveller on it.
likelihood for but for all of these people to fall
I don't know
asleep,
how many people are taking it.
yeah,
but a few.
surely enough that at least one of them goes, guys, shouldn't we have
But at the same
left
time,
by now?
At the same time, I do think someone should have come around and said, "By the way, the service is off. Like, we're not
Yeah.
running it."
Maybe
Instead
it's
of-
one of those classic, oh, I told him to do it. He thought I was going to do it. They thought he was going to do it. And yeah.
Maybe they came round and they were like, "You just look
Or
so
maybe
peaceful.
they just thought it was really funny.
Just look so peaceful." I didn't want
Should
to
we
wake
just see
you
how
up.
long they stay there for?
Sitting there going, "Unbelievable,
Yeah.
unbelievable. How are they still going?"
There would be British people that would just sit there, though, wouldn't they? They'd be like, just getting more furious inside.
And then just being really passive aggressive with the next morning.
Yeah.
But no, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with stories. I'm
I've
done
got
with anecdotes.
one last one, and it's related to the heat because it was much worse recently. Is BO one of the most selfish things anyone can do?
Sometimes. Some people do have particularly bad BO, and
Yeah, but
they
there's
try and manage it for sure.
For most people, like, I mean, I had really bad BO when I was younger, and it's one of the reasons why I really dislike it now because I was quite embarrassed that I had BO when I was younger. But
I think we all go through a
you
phase
just
as
find the right
kids growing up.
products. And like, I'd been friends with people that had bad BO, but it wasn't because they didn't wash or that they were just very active people that were constantly, You know, so I understood that, and it didn't really bother me.
And hard as it is to believe,
But,
we
like,
actually lived very active lifestyles at the time.
Yeah, and but now, like, I just
Yeah, no, I got.
like, I got on a
like
bus
it.
the other day, and this guy sat in front of me. He was young, and I'm assuming it was his daughter, but it could have been his younger sister. But I would have said he was early 20s. Had one of those scruffy, pathetic, like almost. It actually made me. It looked a bit gross. It almost looked pubic-like, on his face and his chin and his neck was just. But the BO was so bad, I ended up having to cover my mouth.
Yeah, it
and my
can
nose.
be really bad.
And I just sat there thinking, like, you can smell that, surely.
Yeah, do you know what? My mum actually has a good BO story, I think.
Yeah.
Where she used to work with a guy who stank, proper BO problem.
Yeah.
And she said everyone in the office kind of got together and was like, we need to fucking say something, like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So she got nominated to kind of go forward and say, so they bought him some deodorant. And they just went, look.
It's awkward, isn't it?
And they they sort of took him to one side and went, look, it's really bothering us. I don't mean to do damn, but look, here's some deodorant. This is how you use it. Like every morning, just stick a bit of that on. Okay, please. It's because it's
and wash
whatever. And it did make a difference. The
Yeah.
BO went away, and then after about a couple of months, it just came back.
Yeah.
And they were like, mate. Again, took him to one side and were like, mate, what? Like,
Yeah.
what's happened? Did something change? And he went, oh, and I just, I finished the course of, whatever it was. I finished the deodorant you gave me, so I figured that'd work. I figured that, like, he thought it was just a one-time thing.
What does that come down to, though? Is that just he just wasn't raised properly?
Just stupidity, absolutely. Yeah. But no, BO, it can.
And it makes me feel sick as well. And I know I'm sounding really dramatic, but I think it's so unnecessary as well. And I get for some people it might be a matter of circumstance. They might not have access to a shower and things like that if they're in a really bad situation.
I don't like to think that I ever really smell that bad, but like yourself, I get a bit guilty if I catch a whiff of myself. And I'm like,
100%.
I need to change as soon as I can. I need to either whack a load of deodorant on if I'm in a rush, or actually have a shower.
And I had trouble.
Able to.
I can't use a spray deodorant. It doesn't do anything. I've got very sweaty armpits, so I have to have something quite strong. I use it's sort of like a roll-on, but it's like cream based, and I put that under my armpits. And that since using that, I've never had BO. So
no, but I like I said, I get a little bit guilty about it. Cause that's not nice for people.
No, it's not exactly. It's not nice for everyone else. Like if I think I've smelt at all at work, like if I catch a glimpse at the end of a shift and I'm like, oh, my shirt's a bit because I've been sweating or whatever, I'll be like, oh fuck, have other people had to smell that?
Yeah, well, I thought yesterday I sort of fell asleep. Like I said, I've been quite fatigued, quite exhausted, so I fell asleep in the day, and then I woke up and I went to play football in the evening. And when I woke up, I'd obviously been sweating, and I just could smell. Like as I got up, I was like, "Oh, that's not good." And I didn't really have time to do anything about it. But luckily, I'm going to play football, so even if I'm not sweating now and BOing, like give it 20 minminutes, and I fucking will be. But even though I was going to do something that would induce BO, I still felt like that doesn't. Yes, I absolutely slapped a load of deodorant on. And I always give it, even when I'm in the shower, if I've had a particularly bad bit of BO, when I'm in the shower and I clean myself, I smell again.
Yeah.
See, I don't always give it.
I do it in the shower after I've washed my arms. I'll double check.
But if I've been particularly bad, or if I've had a particularly sweaty night, or if I knew before I got in I was whiffing a bit, I check and I'm like, do I need to wash again? Do I need to do an extra scrub? Because I don't want to get out still.
No, still ponging,
even if it's a really light.
No,
one.
Because it will stick with you because you'll know. Oh, I still smell.
I'll know. Yeah, you'll know.
Yeah. But no, that's good. I think, to be honest with you, I've really enjoyed this podcast. We've had some good conversations.
It stunk of brilliance to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Reeked of it.
And for that, I feel like you deserve a round of applause.
Thank you.
Very welcome. But to be honest, there's only really one way I want to sign it off, and I think you know how I want to do that.
I know. Well, before we do that, is there anything we want to... Can I just say, by the way, that what you're about to do was one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It was dreadful. But and the thing is, it's so in keeping with who he is, isn't it?
I know, and it's what's really worrying is the other famous catchphrase from the franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, it don't look good.
No.
Doesn't feel good.
Nothing's looking good at the moment, though. That's the worrying thing.
No, but it's the one we had to sign off that way. You know us. So is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, apart from, guys, hit us up. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, any sound effects you'd like, anything really. Just write
As
to
always,
us, talk
if you
to
want
us.
to, if you want to be a guest, we're always looking for guests. We've got lots of ways. You don't have to come here. We can
We can do
call
it
you.
over
We
Zoom.
can do it over phone, over Zoom. There's lots of ways we can do it. I mean, okay, I will start again. There are 2 ways we can do it.
Yeah, over the phone or face to face.
3.
Yeah,
Over the phone, Zoom, face to face.
yeah,
There's three main ways that we can do it, but there's an option.
Yeah.
There's a variety there.
And we'd like to have you on. We like talking to
Yeah,
people.
we love talking to people, and also keep engaged, keep liking it and subscribing it wherever you
Yes.
get your podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a rating if you can.
And if you
We're
can,
really
just pop
grateful.
onto YouTube. The link's in the description of the pod. You don't have
Yeah.
to watch the episode, but if you could just smash a like, it'd be massive.
It would help us out massively, and we were really grateful. And
Yeah.
listen, we're grateful as it is for you guys for listening and keep coming back. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, I think we will close out with a...
Hasta la vista, baby. Thank you.